Hi, it's Lucia, live from the Harvest Cook, and today we're going to be talking about essential kitchen equipment, things that will help you to be successful in the kitchen in terms of equipment. So I hope you enjoy this presentation. I want to make sure that you can hear me and you can see me. So let's make sure we adjust that. Okay. And also, you can put comments and questions in the comment box while I'm presenting. And if you will use that little link that's in the description for the live, that will help me to see your comments while I am actually doing the live. Let me grab my phone so I can take a look and make sure I can see what you are seeing at the same time. So I hope you've had a good couple of days and had fun getting your pantry in order. I am just going to turn this on. Okay, so you could probably hear me in stereo then. Anyway, let's take a look at this little presentation that I've got for you here. Going to show you a little presentation on kitchen equipment. So what you need, what are things that you need in your basic kitchen? Some people will have all of these things already. Maybe you have some of these things. So let's take a look. Having the right tools can make all the difference for you to be efficient in the kitchen. And we're going to talk about three categories of tools, which are large appliances, small appliances, and hand tools. Okay, so our first large appliance that we're going to be talking about is the range or the oven. I really love a gas range because I find I can control the heat very quickly. I can make it hotter or cooler, and it's just much easier to keep things from burning using that kind of control. But you can use any kind of range. You'll just have to think ahead a little bit farther and make sure you adjust things properly. If you have a gas range, you'll want to make sure you have at least one burner that's high BTUs. That enables you to, for example, heat a large pot of water for pasta or for canning in a rather quick fashion. The oven needs to have a time to bake option if at all possible. That will let you put things in the night before and have it like a baked oatmeal breakfast ready for you in the morning when you get up. Some ovens also come with convection options. Those are like the fans that run inside the oven, and they help you to bake more evenly and usually more quickly as well. If you're using a convection oven, you might have to adjust the baking times for some of your recipes, since most recipes at this point are still timed for a standard oven. So it might take you some trial and error, maybe a few burned cookies to get that figured out, but they can be very handy as well. Refrigerator or freezers are really nice to have, but not absolutely necessary. I know people that have used large ice boxes to keep things cool and fresh and haven't actually had a refrigerator. But if you do, which most of us do, a fridge on the top and a freezer on the bottom is a more efficient arrangement for your fridge and freezer. And having a dedicated freezer, like maybe a separate chest freezer or upright freezer, can be very helpful when you're eating plant-based. It gives you a place to store nuts and flowers to keep them from going rancid. And if you want to cook things ahead and like have casseroles or loaves made ahead of time that you can pull out of the freezer to put a meal on the table really quickly, it can be really helpful. The chest style freezers are more energy efficient because you don't lose all the cold air every time you open the door, but you want to make sure that you use a system of like bins or bags for organization within that freezer so that you will be able to find things easily. Now, what about small appliances? I would think that one of the most essential small appliances for your plant-based kitchen is going to be your blender. You don't have to have a really high-powered, expensive blender. Even a cheap one can do the job. You'll just find they're not as efficient. I ate plant-based for many years with just a cheap Walmart blender. But I found that eventually the motors tend to burn out because they get worked pretty hard preparing a lot of plant-based foods that are thick or heavy. I even make nut butters in mine, so that works the engines pretty hard. So if you get a high quality blender, it can end up saving you both time and money. It has more functions. Blenders like the Vitamix can both cook and make ice cream for you, so those are real handy functions. You can also achieve smooth textures quicker in a high-speed blender, where it can take just seconds to make like a nut cheese sauce very, very smooth, where it might take you 4 to 6 minutes in a cheap, lower speed blender. Also, you want to check for warranties. A lot of blenders are warranties for 1 year or less. One of my favorite blenders is the Vitamix. I find that one has one of the longest warranties on the market, which is 7 years. And you can even get a refurbished one for a good deal. If you hang on, I'll give you a link at the end of this presentation where you can go directly to take a look at some of these items that I'm talking about here, and you can get a look at what some of your options could be and also know which ones are some of my favorites. The Vitamix also has very good service when I've had to, had blenders that were leaking or needed new blades. I found they usually replaced what I needed if it was under warranty with absolutely no problems, and often threw in an extra part as well. I've had mine for at least 14 years and I'm still on my original motor. I use it for cheese sauces, smoothies, nut butters, and milks, and many other things. If you can, you might want to also consider getting the Vitamix dry container. It has a different design blade, which allows you to make flour from whole grains and dry beans. So that can be very handy, especially if you're gluten-free, for example, and you're wanting to make flours from rice or chickpeas or almonds. The dry container can be very handy for that. And because of the design of the blade, it does well and doesn't overheat the motor when you're trying to grind flours. Vitamixes also come in a variety of colors, so if you want one that matches your kitchen, that's something you can do. If you have another favorite, go ahead and put it into the comments and let me know. Another essential piece of equipment is the slow cooker. It's really good for beans. You can get different sizes for different things. For example, I like to have a big one where I can do a large batch of beans at one time, and I can freeze the extra if I'm not going to use it all at once, but I only have to cook one batch. I also like some of the smaller crock pots, like the quart or the quart and a half size, for things like hot cereal. You can put your hot cereal in the evening before and have it all ready for breakfast in the morning. Slow cookers are also very cheap. You can get them at thrift stores, and once you've turned them on, put the amount of water that you need in them at night, you can set and forget it overnight, which is really nice. Pressure cookers can be something that save you a lot of time in the kitchen, especially for cooking beans. Dry soybeans being one of those that takes the longest time. They can also help you to put quicker meals on the table. For example, you can steam potatoes in 5 or 10 minutes and they can be completely ready to eat. So cut stovetop time for things that you would boil to about half or less of the time it would take in a regular pot. The Instant Pot is one of the newer essentials in my kitchen. My kids got it for me for a Christmas present a few years ago, and I just love it. It's like a combination slow cooker, electric skillet, pressure cooker, and rice cooker all in one. And all of those functions have the set and forget ability, which is what I really like. So I can put my beans in to cook in the pressure cooker setting, which means they'll be done quite quickly, and I can go run errands or I can do other things and not have to worry about coming back to watch it, keeping things from burning. So I have found that this is really very, very useful in my kitchen. Another one that I have used for many years is a rice cooker. It is probably the easiest way to prepare rice. If you do rice on the stove top, it requires a heavy kettle and has to be watched carefully so that it doesn't stick or burn. With a rice cooker, you don't have to worry about any of that. You can get one with a brown rice setting, which can also be used for steaming veggies and making one-pot meals. And last but not least, I'd like to share with you some of my favorite hand tools. One of the top of the list ones are flexible spatulas. I really recommend getting the silicone heat resistant models, and I will be sending you to a place where I have a link to some that I like really well that you might want to take a look at. These enable you to clean out pots and pans and serving dishes and really reduce food waste in your kitchen. Great for cleaning out blenders, which can be really hard to get everything out of. And I do recommend that you get the type that have one piece construction, which means that the handle and the blade on the spatula are all made out of one piece, one molded piece, and there's no section where the handle joins the spatula. I found that those tend to come apart and mold gets in there and they can get pretty grody. But the one-piece construction that are very heat resistant, you want the ones that you can like stir your boiling pots with or turn things in the oven and they won't melt on you. I like silicone because it's an inert material. It won't get into your food or anything like that, and it stays flexible for a long time. Metal spatulas are also really handy. I like them in various sizes. I use them for turning, baking, serving. I really recommend stainless steel blades with beveled edges. Allows you to get under things and keep things from sticking. I like the larger ones, like for serving lasagna or roast, and a small one for serving things like brownies or small fruit squares. And one of my favorites is the one from Pampered Chef. I have a link to it in the page that you will see here at the end, and I'll also be posting that link in the comments. So it's both places. You can get the links for my favorite kitchen essentials right here at the Harvest Cook. My favorite kitchen tools. If you go to that website, it's under the tab Plant-Based 101. So there you will see my favorite kitchen tools. And right there you'll see links to some of the ones that I recommend. So you might want to take a look at that. You don't have to get those, obviously, but if you just use those links to take a look at it, just using those links actually helps me to keep the Harvest Cook alive and well, and so I appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Put any questions you have down in the comments. Okay, we will talk to you later.